Hello everyone. Welcome to our presentation of ArcGIS production mapping and ArcGIS defense mapping, an introduction to topographic mapping. My name is John Grammer. I am the product manager for ArcGIS production and defense mapping, and I'm joined by my colleague GC Rice.
Hi everyone, I'm GC Rice and I'm a product engineer and implementation lead supporting the ArcGIS production and defense mapping solutions.
Thanks, GC. We also have Bo King as the moderator today for this session.
Hi, my name is Bo King. I'm a product engineer for ArcGIS production and defense mapping.
Thanks, Bo. First, I would like to set the agenda for this presentation. These are the agenda topics that we will be covering in today's presentation. We will discuss the topographic capabilities of ArcGIS production mapping and defense mapping, desktop and server extensions. We will discuss the extensions that are used in creating and maintaining topographic data and map production. We will take an overview look at these capabilities and processes that are delivered with ArcGIS production and defense mapping. Then we'll take a deeper dive into the enterprise production management concepts with enterprise production workflows. And last, we will take a look at data generalization tools and processes that are a part of our multi-scale mapping in production and defense mapping. Production and defense mapping provide tools to produce, manage, and share topographic authoritative content across the ArcGIS platform. We provide these tools, product files, and applications as a part of the desktop and enterprise extensions. On the desktop side, we provide out-of-the-box data models, workflows, map templates, and geoprocessing tools that help produce authoritative topographic data. With our enterprise extensions, we provide product files, tools, and applications that allow users to engage with the authoritative data. Users can use disconnected editing for field work, can download data or use services for operations. We also deliver map applications like Product on Demand to produce on-demand map products. We also allow managers to use dashboards like the Production Manager to view data currency and production status. What extensions are we using to create, manage, and disseminate topographic authoritative content? With ArcGIS production and ArcGIS defense mapping extensions, you also receive the ArcGIS Data Reviewer and ArcGIS Workflow Manager extensions. These extensions work in conjunction with production and defense mapping in managing the authoritative data and quality throughout the production process. Here are some key development areas we worked on for ArcGIS Pro 2.6. We added several tools for our cartographic refinement, and we also finished the spot color layout for our MTM and TM map products. We added several predefined workflows to include data ingest, field editing, and a GeoAI workflow for data labeling. We made enhancements to our generalization tools and models based on user feedback and testing. We've also added an equivalency tool called Replace Colors. Replace Colors will replace the colors in your layout, maps, styles, all within a project. Users can use this tool to update color mappings, including specification-driven color changes, in which updates apply to all colors in a product. Product files for topographic production. With production and defense mapping, we provide a separate installer for the product files. These are support files like predefined schema geodatabases based on specifications, and map templates that include symbology, map layouts, and surround information. We also have generalization models and rule files for specific scales. We provide out-of-the-box workflow manager workflows that are predefined for data collection, QA/QC, and cartography. These support files are used in automation processes you will see later in this presentation. Topographic production using ArcGIS Pro. Production and defense mapping edit and modify tools are integrated into the common editing ribbon or construction pane within ArcGIS Pro. Tools we have added are in the same ribbons and not separated. We also provide predefined edit templates for the different specifications we support. These templates have attributes predefined for the feature types within the geodatabase specification. Example, you may have different road types like hard surface, loose surface, or maybe fair dry weather surface roads. These attributes are predefined when extracting the data. You also will see modified tools in a common pane within the editor ribbon also. Topographic quality. We use the ArcGIS Data Reviewer to manage our quality control. ArcGIS Data Reviewer allows for users to have automated quality control through attribute rules, reviewer checks, and if you have reviewer batch jobs from ArcMap, you can use these in ArcGIS Pro also. ArcGIS Data Reviewer also allows users to visually check data in a semi-automated way. Reviewers can review a selected set of features or a sample set of data for review. Reviewers can flag issues like missing features or flag existing features that need to have geometry or attribution correction. ArcGIS Data Reviewer allows for error management. Automated and semi-automated calls are stored in an error table. This error table then can be used by editors to drive to these issues and correct the error specified. The error table also allows for communication of the QC lifecycle. The QC lifecycle can be tracked in the error table itself. Errors are flagged with review, corrected, or verified. This allows for tracking of the errors in the production process. These error tables then allow for the analysis and reporting of the types of errors within the production. Then this can help in the process improvement and/or training of the production staff. Topographic data generalization. Production and defense mapping provide tools to generalize data to multiple scales. The process takes in the best scale authoritative data, and it's processed through theme-based models for generalization. These models use the schema and the metrics defined in the generalization rule file. So unlike our models in ArcMap, where we had to have one set of models per schema and scale, in ArcGIS Pro, we have one set of models. This single set of models has no dependency on schema or scale. Schema and scale are controlled through the generalization rule files. We do deliver rule files for the products we support in the product file installer for both production and defense mapping. Cartographic production with ArcGIS production mapping and ArcGIS defense mapping. We start the cartographic process with preparing cartographic data. This is a step where we prepare data that will be necessary for topographic map specifications. Creating data like contours, spot heights, or data that is needed for your map specification. Once the cartographic data preparation is complete, the user can start the cartographic production. This can be done by running the Generate Product Layout tool. This tool uses existing layouts from the support files and creates the necessary data for many of the elements in the topographic maps. This tool can be run in ArcGIS Pro application or through Workflow Manager workflows. After the layout is created and populated with the necessary data for the elements and the surround information, the user can now open the layout and finish the map. This is the cartographic refinement section. Tools for feature offsets and masking can be found in the topographic production toolbox. After the finishing step is complete, users can then export the map. If exporting PDF files and are using the layouts from defense mapping for MTM or TM specifications, the layouts are spot color ready. The layout, when exported to PDF, will export the spot color for print ready PDF files. At ArcGIS 2.6 release, production mapping has added the Replace Colors tool. This tool can replace colors in a project based on the mapping from one color schema to another, example RGB to CMYK. Managing topographic production. How can we manage these processes we have gone over so far? We have predefined workflow manager workflows that can help in managing topographic production. We deliver an enterprise production management system that is workflow driven. It will increase productivity by automating repeatable processes. We can build in quality by enforcing quality control of the data and that can control the automation of these jobs based on errors. Having the quality step in the workflow brings accountability of the data. We can manage the data updates. That is a built-in automated synchronization of replicas and versions. Let's take a closer look at managing topographic production. GC?
All right, thank you, John. So yeah, as John mentioned, there are a lot of tools and files for topographic production, and you discussed a little bit at the end there about how they can be included in workflows. So enterprise production management, or EPM, that's what we call the full enterprise workflow solution. So we're integrating the tools within workflows, and then as those workflows are being executed, it's all about the job tracking and reporting that's happening. So that's EPM. At the heart of the EPM system is really the production workflows that come with production mapping. So we've got workflows in the box for data editing, cartographic production, both manual and automated. You see those a lot of automation for specific defense and civilian products later in the demos. Data ingest into the system, data labeling for machine learning. So that's a real simple editing workflow to build training data for machine learning models, field editing as well. These are modular workflows designed to be executed by role. So you can see the list of groups there in the top right. If I'm a QA, QC analyst, I'm only executing the QC workflow, for example. The steps advance only on successful completion. So that's, as John mentioned, building in quality, in this case through process control. And also many steps are fully automated. So you see the white colored steps there on the screen. Those are completely automated, launching tools and scripts with no user interaction whatsoever. So that's a real time saver. So let's jump into our first demo. This will be a deep dive into how both technicians and management or executives interact with the EPM system. I've switched to my browser, and you can see I'm logged into my enterprise portal for topographic mapping. The first app you see here is the Production Manager app. So I've already opened that here, and Production Manager is basically that executive level or management level view of the work happening in the EPM system. So it uses Workflow Manager for Server to connect to the system and show all of this in real time. So I can pick a query. You can see all the different types of production happening in my system. Specifically, if I'm interested in MGCP production, I can see data and map production jobs, ingest jobs. So say I pick in extraction jobs, I've quickly shown the four data extraction jobs for MGCP in the system. See, I get that table view, again, all live from what's happening in the system. Quick pop-ups as well. I can view the jobs a little more thematically as well. So, for example, schedule status shows me, what's on time or past due. I can also look at kind of the child tasks happening within each larger job. So you can imagine inside a data extraction job, we have different kind of subtasks happening. So we have the setup stage, like create replica, the actual data editing, so data maintenance, the quality control, and then publishing updates. So these are the four subtasks that are happening within an extraction job, and you can see that we have one job of each type in the system right now. So not only can I monitor my production, I can also create new jobs. So if I click the Create Job tab, I can pick the type of production I want. So sticking with the MGCP theme, I can create a data extraction job, and set some data information, priority as well, and then I can define an area of interest. So you can see the 15-minute grid cells have turned on for me. That's my kind of unit of work for MGCP data extraction jobs. So I can just click one of those and create the job. And that happens on the server. And as the job's created, it's actually, it's live, it's in the system, but it's also being auto-executed. So some of the job setup steps in the workflow, those white-colored steps, are running automatically now behind the scenes to get the job ready for my different users that'll be interacting with the job through ArcGIS Pro. So that's a really quick intro into Production Manager. And now we'll move to ArcGIS Pro to see how those different types of users are interacting with the system, executing those workflows for topographic production. So I'll switch hats. Now working as the extraction analyst. I'm in ArcGIS Pro, ready to do my work. I have a workflow connection here, and that connects me to Workflow Manager. So you can see I've got queries where I can refine my list of jobs, and right now I'm looking at just the jobs assigned to me. So that makes it really nice and simple. If I want to see a larger group of jobs, say all of the data maintenance jobs, I can see those really quickly and easily. There's an LOI map as well that shows me where the production's happening. So these are all my data maintenance jobs. But again, I'm an analyst and I'm really interested in only my job at the time. And so I've got that one highlighted here for MGCP extraction. It's the data maintenance job. So before I show that job, quickly want to point out that another job has already been executed. So again, I talked about the stages of production. The first one is data replica, right? So we're creating a replica and resourcing the job map. And you can see those steps have already run. They're white colored steps, so they run automatically. This workflow has already been executed. So before I come into the system as an editor, again, this has already happened, and now I can run my data maintenance job that's been automatically created as the next stage of the production. So I can open that step, or workflow, I should say, and you'll see that I'm on the open map step, so all of this is already run. The important part to note is that I've already used these steps to automatically copy my file geodatabase and MapX file locally to my machine, so I can work with it locally. That's all recorded by Workflow Manager. So at this point, I'm ready to do my extraction, and I just kick off this step. So I'll skip ahead a minute. My map is open. You'll see the area of interest cross-hatched here. You might remember the previous create replica workflow created that checkout replica for me, and then this the edit workflow I just executed allowed me to copy it locally. And so you see my maps resourced automatically to that checkout replica. I've got the symbology for my organization defined for editing already loaded as well. So again, maps resourced, I'm pretty much ready to get started with my editing. So I'll zoom to an area for feature extraction. And we can talk about how some tools and capabilities you might remember from 10x production and defense mapping exist really conveniently within Pro. So if I go to the edit ribbon and create tab, you'll see that I have a whole host of MGCP feature templates for editing. These all contain predefined attributes. So the idea is I can search for a feature, say school, find anything with school in the text. I can just grab that template. I could capture this feature as a school. And then when I click the attributes tab, you see that feature's had its feature function attribute set to education, right? So that's the idea, that quick point and click editing experience, all with that whole host of MGCP feature templates. Those exist in defense mapping for TDS and MGCP schemas. So similarly, you may remember the buildings tool. This tool now is called Create Structures in Pro, and it's right here on the Create Features tab. So no separate toolbar. I just click the Create Structures tool. And what this does is it allows me to automatically create a point building if the feature is less than 625 square meters or anything I set it to, or automatically create a polygon if it's larger. And so that means I can just digitize, say, this large building feature, and it's automatically a polygon. But then when I choose this to capture this one, it's smaller and it's defined automatically as a point. So that's a Create Structures tool, again integrated right here on the Create Features tab. Now if I pan down a little bit, you can see that I have a few features I'd like to capture here specifically. So I can search for lake. I've got my lake edit template here. So real quickly can define the lake feature. And now if I want to create a park, I digitize that feature here, but I want to make sure that the features are coincident and that there's a hole cut in the park for this lake. Well, we have a tool that does that. You might remember it from 10x. It's called the Production Difference tool. So if I search for my park, you can see that right beside the Create Structures tool is the difference polygon tool. So production difference at 10x, difference polygon here at Pro. But again, really quick and easy to get to. I can just define my polygon. I can draw it real sloppily here, and you'll see when I create it, it automatically creates that coincident boundary with the existing cropland, and it creates a hole there where that lake is. So just a couple tools there, the create structures tool, the production difference tool, and then those edit templates. So all of those exist really conveniently at Pro. You can imagine there are a bunch of other tools that used to be production and defense mapping tools kind of sprinkled through the other Pro edit tools. This is just kind of a quick overview of those. So as my editing's done, I would just save my edits, and I would close this map and return to Workflow Manager. So I'm back in Workflow Manager, and you can see I've skipped ahead a few steps. I've run these last couple. My job's closed, 100% complete. And so as the extraction analyst, my work is done. And when that happened, the EPM background process automatically created the next job in the data extraction lifecycle, and that's the quality control job. So I have that open here, and now I'll switch hats again and kind of work as the QC technician. So as a QC technician, I've found my job. It's been assigned to me, open it up, and I've run a couple of these steps already. I'm on the open map step, so I'll execute that. And while the map opens, I can point out two steps that have already run in my process. This step automatically created the data reviewer session for this job. And the next step opened our quality control tasks. So we can show those here. Tasks in Pro are kind of like interactive help documents. So we've configured a few for EPM that come with the solution that help us, for example, start our quality control. So my map opens, and I've already run through these steps, and they've helped me, again, find that data reviewer session that was automatically created for the job. And they've also helped me find these batch jobs and add them. And so you can see we have a whole list of MGCP specific batch jobs. These come with ArcGIS Defense Mapping. So I've already run one of these checks, and that's the duplication check. So run that really quickly. Again, I've done that, and so those errors are automatically stored in my jobs reviewer session table. So I'll open that up, and you can see a bunch of the errors that were found. Specifically, a focus on these duplicate geometries here at the top, right? So just say I'm interested in these two. I can select those, zoom to results, and you can see they'll be selected on the map and zoom to. I'll zoom a little closer, and then when I click the Attributes tab, I can see that we do have two geometries here with the same attribution. So that's a quick automated check, but there are also tools within Data Reviewer to help me do a more manual QC. So on the Edit ribbon, if I click Manage Quality, I'll see those Data Reviewer tools. So I can see that there are a couple buildings that were not captured here. So I can flag those using the Flag Missing Features tool. So I just highlight the feature class I'd like to flag. You can see the dialog here, just saying I want to add to building points. And so easy enough, I can do that, and I can just drop those points here, and you'll see that they appear in the missing feature as missing features in the reviewer table. So that's quick and easy. They can be captured by an extraction analyst later. I can also point out other types of changes that need to be made. So for example, I can see that this built up area should really be reshaped to include those extra buildings, right? So what I can do is click the Browse Features button. That's going to open this dialog, and I can select a feature that I'd like to add as an error, and I can say I want the analyst to reshape this area, and I can add notes here. So I can commit that as well, and you can see we've got that added to the reviewer table here as well. So those are just a couple quick ways we can add records to the reviewer table, both automatically and interactively. So if I wanted to actually make this change, it would be pretty easy, right? So I could come in and reshape this feature. So I could say I want to go here, here, and trace this feature. And now I've reshaped that built up area, and I'd like to mark that as corrected, right? So feature selected here in the viewer table. So all I have to do is click update results. And the built up area, you can see it's in the update results pane. And so I can mark it status as resolved as I fix that issue and apply that. So then I can sort by the viewer phase and see that built up area is now marked as acceptable. So it's a really quick summary of how I can use batch checks to do an automated review and use reviewer tools to do a more interactive review. And all of that is stored within that reviewer table that's attached to my job in EPM. So with that, I'll close the map and return to Workflow Manager. My QC done. Back in Workflow Manager, like last time, I've run through the final steps already of the QC workflow, and now the QC is done. Job's 100% complete and closed. And like last time, the EPM background process has kicked off the final job in the life cycle, and that's the publishing job. So I have this one open, and this is a job I'd run as a data publisher, and I have a few automated steps here to synchronize the checkout replica and then run the reconcile and post. Both are automated, and then I have some steps here that I can review those edits. So that really covers the data production workflow through the life cycle and all the child tasks that occur all within the EPM system. And this is all trackable within Production Manager as well. So if I switch back to Production Manager, I can see those MGCP extraction jobs. If I symbolize by job type and then isolate the publish updates jobs, you can see I now have 2 of those jobs, including obviously one is the one we've been working through. You can see all the information's updated live, including the fact that it's 85% complete of a total level of effort expected of 7 days. Believe it or not, we've already completed 6 days worth, which is pretty impressive really in 20 minutes. So yeah, that's really the data production process using a lot of the tools and capabilities that John mentioned, but all within workflows. And again, all of it's updated real time, both in Pro and in Production Manager. So switching gears a bit, you may want to create a different type of job in the system. And oftentimes, after data production, you'd want to create a map production job over that area. And so I can do that similarly as I did before. And I can just set map production in the job type and choose the AOI and click create job. And so that's going to, again, just like the data production side, it's going to create a map production job. Some steps are going to be auto executed by the background process, and then we can join that job within Pro as the cartographic technician. So bring up Pro and we're looking at the create automated product job. It's already been executed by the background service. You can see it's 100% complete. And you can see all these steps are white colored. Again, it means they're running automatically, again, by the background process. So the idea is that this job creates my starting point map for finishing. And as a cartographic analyst, I would join the job after this has already been done. So what kind of automation is happening here? Well, first the AOI is extracted from the geodatabase. Then we run some pre-processing steps that create the data I need for the product. That's using a lot of the tools in the topographic production toolbox here in the features tool set. For example, creating contours and spot heights, and also joining sheet guide, elevation guide features as well. Then we actually create the product, so automatically running the generate product layout tool. This one's new at Pro 2.6, and it actually does the heavy lifting of creating the product using our layouts included with production and defense mapping. So after that, we run some post-processing steps, mostly from the cartographic refinement tool set. So building offsets, bridge offsets, creating and applying masks, for example. So much of this is configurable. So out of the box, we have rules and files for those supported products like CTM, TM, and MTM. But we can configure which processes run. For example, are we creating contours and spot heights, or do they already exist in the data? So once this is run, again, as a cartographic analyst, I already have my starting point. I don't need to interact with this job. I would enter the system at this point, ready to run the open layout step. So I've already done that. It's open, and you can see what I get is a pretty good starting point for my cartographic finisher. If I start inside the data frame, zoom in a bit, you can see the grid's been created and applied, annotation as well, including the annotation masking on the grids. You can see there's some labeling in place. Our bridge offsets tool is run, so you can see, if I zoom in a little bit more, that the bridges are matching the roads and railways. I zoom back out and now step through the map surrounds. See that static legend, which is to spec. You can see some dynamic text that's been updated, including this grid and projection information. The meter reference guide has been updated. You can see my grid zone information there. The dynamic north arrow is updated, so see the true north and magnetic north for the sheet. The text that's related to this as well is dynamic and has been updated. So see, a lot of automation has happened. My elevation guide box is complete. Joining sheet guide and the boundaries guide would just need me to add my organization's boundary information. So I could do that to the layout if I wanted. So again, this is just a really quick spin around the map, but it's just kind of showing the automation that's already run. And again, this is where I would do my finishing. Once I'm done with that, I would export to PDF. I have a workflow step that does that automatically, and I've already run that. So let me bring up the PDF. One difference with the PDF I did want to mention is with the symbology and colors. So the symbols within the styles that come with production mapping and defense mapping, those symbols now actually contain the spot colors. So that means that if I zoom in, and you see I have the preview option here in Adobe Pro, and see the colors change to what the output would be with those spot colors. And see, as I hover over the different colors in the map, those two spec spot colors are being shown in the preview window. See, there's no process CMYK values. All the spot colors are here. And the difference is that in ArcGIS Pro, this is automatically done with the export to PDF option. There's no additional tools needed to map the CMYK to these colors. The symbols already have these spot colors. Now, there is a solution for customers that do have custom color mapping requirements, and that's within Pro here. So let's jump back to Pro. I find my layout, and once I highlight it, see the Replace Colors tool. This is the one that John mentioned in his introduction. So I can click Load Colors, and it's going to load all the colors in the layout into the Replace Colors tool. So while they're loading, just a reminder that, again, for our spec products in the box like TM and MTM, this isn't necessary at all because the spot colors already exist in the symbology and the style. This tool is for customers with specific requirements for mapping their current colors to a specific target color. So you can see all the colors in the map, including CMYK and spots, and I could say map this current color to any of the colors here, or you can see these spot buttons. These are colors that are within the style that I've loaded to the project. So in this case, these are the MTM spot colors. So you can see I can map a color to another color. And again, this is just for customers that have these specific requirements. So I think at this point we've really hit the highlights of the data and map production workflows. I think the takeaway here is that at ArcGIS Pro 2.6, using the tools and software extensions that John introduced and that I've demoed here, we now have that end-to-end capability for two-spec data and map production. And now that we've covered the workflows for topographic data and map production, I'd like to switch gears a bit and talk about data generalization, because it's an important capability that can help you get more benefit from that data you're producing. So John showed a slide like this earlier. It captures that idea of taking the best scale data that organizations are spending lots of time and money to produce and getting more benefit from it. So creating multiple products from that best scale data. The idea of capture once, use many times. So how do we do that? Well, in generalization, we're applying these types of techniques to the data. We're simplifying and smoothing data to reduce complexity, eliminating features that are too small at output scale, aggregating features together at times, for example, buildings to built-up areas, collapsing features to specific geometries. For example, Polygon River becomes the center line, thinning road and hydro networks, and sometimes even exaggerating features that are important and need to be seen at output scale. And so how do we do that? Well, we've got a bunch of geoprocessing tools in the box, both the topographic production tools toolbox and the cartography tools toolbox. So you can imagine you don't really want to be running these tools over and over again manually. So how do we do this? Well, we leverage them within models. So for example, we have the delineate built up areas tool. We use that within a model, doing some processing before and after to get the best results. So how do these models exist within production mapping? We can see we've got one set of models here in the middle, and the goal was to make sure they were not dependent on data model or scale. So not hard coding feature types or scale values into the models. We want them to be flexible. So they would work for civilian data at say 10 to 50K, as well as defense data from say 50 to 250K. And then the goal, of course, you imagine would be for you to use your own individual schema and create generalized data with your output scale. So how do we have one set of models that's this flexible? Well, we came up with the idea of using rule files, right? So capturing that generalization logic that's specific to each of these within their own rule file. These rule files come in the box, and they include feature type logic, so rules for how to generalize different feature types, also tolerance values. So all of that's captured in individual rule files. Rule files and the models come with production mapping, and the two of them together is how you automate your generalization. And so we generalize by theme within these models. Those models are doing basically all of this work right there. First, preparing your data by extracting, say, a specific area from oftentimes larger AOI of source data, and then they're going to generalize the data by theme. So the generalization happens within the models by theme. At the end of that process, when we have the data pretty well thinned, there's a simplification model that runs that does the simplify and smooth for the remaining features. And then at the end of the process, I write that data back out to my output scale and output data schema. So the generalization models, along with the rule files, automate this entire process. So let's jump into our final demo. We'll look at the generalization models and rule files, where they exist in the solution, and then also some before and after generalization results. So I'll switch to Pro, and we'll start with the geoprocessing tools for generalization. I mentioned they exist within the cartography tools toolbox. See, there's a generalization tool set. These require no additional license other than Pro. The other important toolbox to note is the topographic production tools. These also include a generalization tool set, and these tools require the ArcGIS production mapping license. So we use these tools and others to build our theme-based generalization models that exist within the ArcGIS production mapping product files installer. So when I run that installer, I get a directory structure that looks like this. Within the generalization folder, you'll see generalization models and rules. The models folder includes those theme-based generalization models. Of course, we need the rule files. So within rules, you'll see the CTM 50K rule file. That's for civilian data. And then if I jump to the ArcGIS defense mapping product file installer, I'll see a generalization folder, and you'll see specifically rules in the box for MGCP and TDS 50K to 250K generalization. So if I wanted to run a full sheet through all models, I could just expand the generalization tools toolbox and the run generalization tool specifically. So this will run all of the theme-based models in order. Key parameters here are the rule file. So if I wanted to run MGCP data, for example, I would drag the rule file into this parameter, and also I define an AOI, right? So if I want to run this for, Haiti, I would have this selected sheet here, and then I would just pick that jog index sheet and click run. So I've already done that, and I have the results here in another tab. You can use the swipe tool to look at the before, which is 50K, and then the after there, which is 250K. You can really see at 250K how much content is removed, how much detail is removed at that jog scale. Really noticeable here in the Port-au-Prince area, you can just see how many roads are removed. Is interior roads within the built-up areas are really thinned out at 250K. I think one of the hardest things to do is manage river polygons in generalization, because they should be, the wide portions should be still polygons, but then the narrow portions should be lines. And you see the models do a pretty good job here of taking that thin area, making it a line, but then keeping the wide portion. You can also see a lot of the little streams here that connect to the river are removed as well. So that's a tough one. I think the models do a good job there. Also with coastlines, that's difficult. You can see the after, we remove a lot of content. These little islands are below the minimum scale, so they're gone. You can also see some the smoothing that happens along the edges of the polygons along the coastline. And the same idea with this coastline here. You see the same kind of smoothing and removal of detail at 250K here. You can also see some of these marsh areas. The larger ones stay in the output, but then small things like this lake and this marsh are gone. And then finally, you can see it kind of all come together here in this mountainous area. We've got a lot of trails and streams here in the 50K, and you can see that not only are a bunch removed, but they're significantly simplified and smooth. So you see these really jagged cart tracks. They're all smoothed out. You can see the streams as well. So just much more appropriate for 250K. And so that's a real quick summary on the ArcGIS production mapping generalization tools and how the models and rule files work together to be able to take, in this case, 50K data and automate the creation of 250K data. So with that, I'll pass it back to John for a wrap up.
Thanks, GC. So in summary, the key takeaways are that ArcGIS Pro 2.6, production mapping, and defense mapping are production ready. The ability to collect data and perform quality control on that data, and then create multiple scale products, allows the users to work through the end-to-end process for topographic production. Defense and production mapping workshops. If you're interested in a deeper dive in any of the capabilities we discussed in today's presentation, we do have several on-demand presentations that are specific to these capabilities. Thank you again for joining us for today's presentation. Please share your feedback by taking the survey below the presentation link. The question and answer session will begin shortly.